The galaxy had fallen quiet. Not the quiet of peace, but the quiet of fear. Entire star systems no longer answered calls. Worlds that once burned with light and life now floated in silence. Their skies dark, their voices gone. Trade routes that carried millions of ships every cycle stood empty. Where laughter once filled the air of countless cities, there was only ash. Civilizations across the stars had tried to fight back. They built fleets, raised armies, and unleashed weapons that could crack moons in half. But against the invaders, none of it mattered. The enemy swept across the galaxy like a storm. They left no survivors, no cities, no songs, only ruins drifting in the void. The Galactic Council, once proud and full of arrogance, now sat in their chamber like shadows of their old selves. Their voices were low, their faces pale. They argued in whispers, but their words carried no real hope. Some demanded surrender. Others said there was no point, no one left to surrender to. "The galaxy is finished," said one elder, his voice trembling. "We are the last voices in an empty universe." And he was not wrong. Hope had bled out of every world, every race. Across the stars, children grew up never hearing stories of victory, only tales of survival, of hiding in caves and under ruined streets waiting for the sound of engines that meant death was coming. Yet in that darkness a rumor began to spread, small at first like a candle in a storm. Some called it madness. Some called it a desperate lie. It was a name spoken in secret, passed from one dying world to another. Humans. Most had never seen one. Many believed they were only myths, spoken in old records and forgotten libraries, a species that once walked the stars then disappeared without reason. For centuries they had been gone. Some said they destroyed themselves in wars. Others said they had fled the galaxy. But truth remained. No one had seen them for ages. And yet, the name returned. Whispers said that when the galaxy's light went out, when silence ruled every system, humanity would rise again, not as saviors, not as conquerors, but as the storm. Inside the council chamber, the debate grew. One commander, scarred from battles, long lost, slammed his fist on the table. "You speak of surrender, of death, of silence, but what if the humans are real? What if they are waiting?" The chamber erupted with laughter, bitter and hollow. "Humans." "A child's tale," spat another, leader. "They are ghosts, old stories to comfort the weak. We cannot place our hopes on shadows." But the old commander did not back down. He looked at the others with fire still in his eyes. "I fought alongside them once, long ago, before they vanished. I saw their ships move like living things. I saw them fight when no one else would. And I saw the fear in the enemy's eyes when they realized humans did not break. If they are gone, then yes, we are lost. But if they are not," his voice fell to a whisper, "if they are not, then silence will not last." The council dismissed him. But outside their walls, the rumor grew stronger. Refugees whispered, the name in broken shelters. Soldiers carved the word on walls of ruins. Even children in destroyed villages sang quiet songs about warriors of steel and fire who would one day return. Still, silence ruled. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months, and the galaxy continued to crumble. Then it happened. It began as a signal. Faint. So faint it could barely be heard through the static of the void. A pattern, not random, but alive. Some said it was interference. Others dismissed it as dying, systems collapsing into black holes. But a few recognized it. Not alien, not the invaders, different, ancient. The old commander, long ignored, heard it first. He stood in the council chamber with trembling hands as the signal grew stronger. "This is not the enemy," he whispered. This is something else." Across the galaxy, in broken observatories and abandoned stations, survivors looked up as their scanners lit with strange readings. Something massive was moving through the dark. Something powerful, entire fleets cloaked in shadows but too large to hide completely. The stars themselves seemed to dim as shapes moved across them. The rumors returned with greater force. Humans, someone said, barely breathing the word. Impossible, another answered, but his voice shook. Then came the moment that changed everything. A broken colony ship drifting near a dead star picked up a transmission. Not in alien code, not in any tongue of the council races. It was old, rough, carved, in the simplest language of machines. But it was clear. One word: stand. The galaxy froze. That single word, sent across channels thought long dead, echoed in every world, every heart. Was it real? Could it be a trick? Could it be a trap? The enemy did not care. They closed in on the broken colony ship, ready to finish the last survivors. Their warships blotted out the stars, fire burning in their weapons. Silence prepared to fall again. But before the first shot was fired, the void itself trembled. The survivors looked up through shattered glass and broken hulls, and they saw it. A ship, not alien, not invader, something else. Massive, dark, and scarred by battles long past. Its engines lit the void like the birth of a star, and behind it, more, hundreds, thousands. The silence was ending. Humanity had returned. The galaxy had seen many wars, but nothing like this. The invaders moved, without mercy. Every fleet that tried to resist was erased. Every fortress that stood in their way turned to dust. The silence spread faster than light itself, swallowing hope system by system. And yet there was something new in the darkness now. A signal. A shadow. Ships moving where no ships should exist. At first, no one believed it. The council dismissed it as fragments of broken satellites or tricks from the enemy. But whispers spread faster than orders. Across the galaxy, survivors began to repeat the same word. A word thought buried in time. Humans. On a ruined outpost orbiting a shattered moon, refugees huddled around a broken comm screen. Static filled the air, broken by faint pulses of sound. A child asked what it meant. The elder among them, his eyes tired but sharp, leaned close and whispered, "It is them. The ones who vanished. The ones who fought when no one else could." The child stared, her eyes wide. "But humans are only stories." The elder smiled, though it was a sad smile. "Stories are born from truth. And sometimes, truth waits for the right moment to return." In the council chamber, the debate had turned bitter. "They are myths," spat one ambassador. "I will not stake what remains of my people on fairy tales." "Fairy tales do not send signals," the old commander growled. He pointed to the recordings, the same signals growing stronger day after day. "Look at the pattern. Look at the movement. This is no accident. Someone is out there, someone powerful." "But if it is them," another counselor said nervously, "why now? Why return only when the galaxy is already dying?" No one answered. Meanwhile, in the dark edges of space, witnesses began to appear. A group of miners, hiding inside a drifting asteroid, swore they saw the silhouette of a warship larger than anything they had ever known. Its hull was blackened, scarred by battles from long ago. Yet its engines roared with a light so fierce that even the void seemed to bend around it. On a ruined colony, soldiers swore that the enemy fleet chasing them was torn apart by unseen fire. One moment they were being hunted, the next the invaders exploded in silence, as if cut apart by invisible blades. When the smoke cleared, a single shadow drifted above them. It did not stay. It did not answer. But its very presence told them one thing: the galaxy was no longer alone. The stories grew with every passing day. They walk again. They fight in silence. They strike without warning. The invaders, once fearless, now hesitated. For the first time since their conquest began, they slowed their advance. Something had made even them wary. Something they did not understand. Nigh. Secret gatherings far from the council's ears, survivors spoke more openly. They are not myths. They are watchers. They never left. They only waited. They are the storm that comes when silence rules. The council tried to crush these stories, calling them false hope. But the more they denied it, the more people believed. The invaders had broken every empire, every army, every fleet. And yet, suddenly, battles were being won, not by numbers, not by technology, but by something else, something unseen. One night, in a ruined temple on a world half consumed by fire, a group of monks found a relic. It was an old transmission, buried deep in their archives. They played it, and the words filled the air in a tongue they barely understood. We will not vanish. When the stars fall silent, we will rise again. And when we rise, the galaxy will remember who we are. The monks fell silent. Then one of them whispered, "It is a promise. Their promise." The invaders, too, began to sense it. Their war leaders demanded answers. Their scouts reported strange encounters, fleets shredded before they could even fire, massive ships appearing and vanishing without a trace. Fear spread among them. They had crushed countless worlds, but now they faced something different. Something ancient, something that did not fear them. Back in the council, the old commander stood before the gathered races once more. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber. You all think humans are myths, but I tell you this. Myths do not destroy fleets. Legends do not move in silence. Only the living can do that. And they are here. I do not care if you believe me. The galaxy will believe soon enough. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some still dismissed him. Others began to wonder if he was right. The seed of doubt had been planted. And outside those walls, the whispers had grown into something more. Not just rumors, not just stories, but hope. Fragile, dangerous hope. On the edge of a dying star system, a final signal came. Stronger than before, clear, direct. It was not a myth. It was not a ghost. It was a warning. We are here. The silence of the galaxy cracked. The invaders, for the first time, were no longer certain of victory. The survivors, for the first time, dared to believe. And across the stars, one truth began to spread. Humanity had not been destroyed. Humanity had not abandoned the galaxy. Humanity had only been waiting. And now, they were moving. The whispers had become fire. Across the galaxy, survivors spoke the name as if it were a prayer. The council still doubted, still argued, but beyond their halls, ordinary people believed. Even the enemy fleets, once arrogant, slowed their marches. Something was coming. Something they could not explain. And then, it arrived. It began in the UE Helios sector, a dead system where the invaders had turned 3 worlds into ashes. Their fleet, dark and merciless, gathered there to prepare for their next strike. They laughed at the rumors of humans, calling them fantasies of the weak. To them, silence was permanent. But as they prepared, their scanners went wild. Unknown signatures appeared at the edge of the system. At first, faint, then stronger. Too strong. The invader commander barked orders. Shields rose, weapons charged. The void was empty, yet the sensors screamed that something massive was there. Then the first shadow appeared. It slid from the darkness like a mountain breaking free of the night. A warship, so large it dwarfed the invaders' biggest carriers. Its surface was scarred, marked with battles older than memory, and yet it moved with terrifying grace. The invaders froze. For the first time, they hesitated. The massive ship said nothing. It fired nothing. It simply existed, and its presence alone bent the battle before it even began. Then more arrived. One by one, they emerged from the void. Dozens. Hundreds. A formation, so vast it covered the stars themselves. Engines glowed like suns, casting long shadows across the ruined worlds below. Hulls of steel and fire, weapons that hummed with power older than the invaders had ever known. It was an armada, humanity's war armada. Silence fell across the system. Even the void seemed to hold its breath. The invaders panicked. Their ships turned, preparing to fire. The order rang out. Destroy the newcomers before they strike. But before the first shot could be fired, the human flagship moved. It did not roar. It did not send warnings. It simply unleashed its weapons. And the galaxy remembered why humanity had once been feared. The opening volley cut through the invader fleet like fire through paper. Precision strikes, faster than thought, erased entire squadrons. Massive carriers vanished in bursts of light. Frigates split apart before they even knew they were targeted. The humans did not waste shots. Every blast was perfect, every strike exact. Panic spread through the invader fleet. They tried to respond, but their weapons were too slow, their shields too weak. The humans moved like predators among prey. In minutes, half the fleet was gone. The survivors attempted to retreat, but the Armada surrounded them, sealing every path. The void that once belonged to the invaders now belonged to humanity. Across the galaxy, eyes widened as reports came in. Broken colonies, shattered ships, hidden outposts, all heard the same impossible truth. Humanity had returned, and they had come in force. The council sat in stunned silence as their screens lit with images of the battle. Some wept openly, others trembled in fear. The old commander, the one who had believed, stood tall. His voice broke the silence. "I told you," he whispered. "They are not myths. They are not gone. They are war." The battle raged on, but to the survivors watching, it was not a battle at all. It was a slaughter. The invaders had crushed every fleet in the galaxy, but against humanity's warships they were nothing. A single human dreadnought tore through 20 enemy ships as if they were toys. A smaller vessel danced through fire, weaving destruction with elegant precision. Fighters, sleek and deadly, swarmed like living blades, cutting down anything that dared to resist. The invaders screamed across their channels, begging for orders, for guidance. But no answer came. Their leaders had fled, abandoning them to the storm. Then, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy heard humanity's voice. The flagship broadcast a single message, carried on every frequency, every channel, every world. "We have returned." The words were simple, heavy, final, and with them, the galaxy changed forever. The survivors who had hidden in fear for so long now felt something new. Not just relief, not just surprise, but power, hope. The kind of hope that could make broken worlds rise again. Children who had grown up under silence cheered as the message reached them. Soldiers, long beaten and weary, lifted their weapons again with fire in their hearts. Entire species once ready to surrender now stood tall, because if humanity could return, then maybe the galaxy could survive. But not everyone felt hope. On the enemy's homeworlds, fear spread like wildfire. Their leaders shouted lies, claiming victory was still theirs. But their people saw the truth. The unstoppable tide had finally met something greater. For the first time, the invaders were hunted. The human armada did not linger in Helios. They destroyed the fleet, then vanished as quickly as they had come. No explanations, no demands. Only silence left behind. But this silence was not the same as before. This silence was heavy with promise. The galaxy knew now. Humanity had returned, not as prey, not as refugees, not as whispers. They had returned as the storm. The battle in the Helios sector was over, where once the enemy fleet had gathered in strength. Now only wreckage floated in the void. Shattered ships drifted lifelessly, glowing with fading fires. The silence that followed was not the silence of defeat, but the silence of awe. Every surviving world heard of it. Every outpost, every colony, every station whispered the same truth. Humanity had returned and their warships fought like gods. But questions rose with the hope. Why had they come back now? Where had they been all these centuries? And most of all, what did they want? The council gathered in a chamber lit by trembling lights. For the first time in years, they were not speaking of surrender. They were speaking of possibility. They destroyed an entire fleet in minutes, one ambassador said. No one has ever done such a thing. They are powerful, another added, but power does not mean mercy. What if they are here not to save us but to rule us? The chamber filled with nervous voices. Some were ready to kneel before humanity. Others wanted to resist, fearing they had simply traded one master for another. Only the old commander spoke with certainty. His voice was firm, steady. You do not understand. Humanity does not fight for conquest. They fight because it is their nature to protect. I have seen it before. They do not come to rule. They come to end silence. The council listened, but doubt still gnawed at their hearts. Then the galaxy received its answer. From the wreckage of the Helios sector, the human flagship sent out a transmission. Not hidden, not secret. A message carried across every channel, every star, every corner of space. Civilizations that had given up all hope stopped to listen. Children in caves, soldiers in trenches, leaders in palaces, all heard the same voice. It was calm, strong, clear. We are humanity. We did not vanish. We did not forget. When the stars fell silent, we waited. When the silence grew heavy, we prepared. And now, when the galaxy calls, we answer. The words struck like fire through the cold void. The voice continued. We do not fight for conquest. We do not fight for pride. We fight because the galaxy is ours to defend. Every world that still breathes, every voice that still sings, every life that still stands. We fight for them. We fight for you. Across the galaxy, tears filled the eyes of listeners. For the first time in centuries, they felt not abandoned, not alone but protected. But the message was not finished. To the enemy, the voice thundered, now cold as steel. You believed silence meant death. You believed you had crushed every defender. But you were wrong. You mistook our absence for weakness. You mistook our patience for fear. Now you will learn what it means when humanity rises. The transmission ended, and the galaxy changed again. Reactions spread like waves. On broken colonies, survivors cheered until their throats were raw. On scattered fleets, soldiers raised their weapons with renewed courage. The council sat in stunned silence, unable to deny the truth any longer. But, in the shadows, unease remained. What if they do not stop? One leader whispered. What if they drive the enemy away, and then decide we are next? Another shook his head. You heard their words. They spoke of defense, not conquest. Words can lie, came the bitter reply. But fleets cannot. Meanwhile, the invaders raged. Their commanders demanded explanations. How could their fleet, their strongest force, fall so easily? Their scouts brought back fragments of recordings, ships larger than mountains, weapons beyond understanding. A fleet of ghosts returned to life. Fear spread through their ranks. They had crushed countless civilizations, but now they faced something different. Something they did not understand. Something they had thought long dead. For the first time, the invaders were afraid. On the edge of the galaxy, survivors watched as human ships moved again. They did not linger in one place. They did not build bases or demand tribute. Instead, they struck with precision, tearing through enemy fleets, saving broken worlds, then vanishing before anyone could thank them. They were everywhere and nowhere. A storm sweeping across the stars. On one shattered colony, survivors crawled from hiding to see human soldiers for the first time. Clad in dark armor, faces hidden, they moved with purpose. They brought supplies, repaired systems, and restored power before leaving without a word. To the refugees, they seemed like gods. To the children, they seemed like heroes. Still, questions lingered. Why had they waited so long? Why had they hidden while the galaxy burned? Back in the council, those questions tore at the leaders. Some demanded to contact humanity directly, to beg for guidance. Others warned against it, fearing what would happen if they angered the war fleet. The old commander listened quietly, then finally spoke. They are not here to answer your questions. They are not here for politics or power. They are here because the galaxy needed them. Do not waste their return with fear. Stand with them, or stand aside. His words carried weight. But still the council hesitated. Because deep inside, every race wondered the same thing. Was humanity truly the savior the galaxy needed? Or had the storm returned only to take the galaxy for itself? The silence that followed was not empty anymore. It was heavy with tension, with promise, with fear, and in the shadows of space, humanity's war armada prepared for the next strike. The galaxy was no longer silent. Where once fear had ruled, now whispers of hope spread like fire. Humanity's message still echoed across the stars. Survivors repeated it in shelters. Soldiers carved it into broken walls. Children sang it in ruins. We fight for you. But hope was fragile. The enemy was not defeated. Their fleet still moved. Their armies still conquered. Entire sectors still burned under their grip. The return of humanity had sparked fire, but fire alone could not win the war. The question spread across every world. Would humanity stand alone, or would the galaxy rise with them? The invaders struck back with fury. They sent armadas into vulnerable systems, determined to crush hope before it grew too strong. They believed humanity would be slow, that their fleets would take time to respond. They were wrong. Before the invaders could finish their attack, the void tore open. Human warships emerged, silent and merciless. Dreadnoughts split the darkness, cannons blazing with precision. Entire invader fleets were erased in minutes, but something different happened this time. The survivors of the attacked world, alien soldiers and civilians, did not just watch. They fought back. For the first time, they did not flee. They stood beside humanity. Their small ships joined the battle. Their weapons were weak, but their courage burned bright. And humanity did not stop them. Humanity did not claim the battle as theirs alone. Instead, they fought side by side, protecting, guiding, striking as one. The galaxy was awakening. On distant worlds, more began to rise. Races that had given up hope now rebuilt their fleets. Broken armies gathered again, not in despair, but with fire in their hearts. And in every council, in every chamber, the same truth was spoken. We are not alone anymore. Humanity has returned, and if they stand, so shall we. The invaders had never faced this before. They had crushed divided races, scattered fleets, broken civilizations too afraid to fight. But now, unity spread across the stars. One by one, worlds rallied under a banner that was not their own, yet felt like it belonged to all. The banner of humanity's return. In the heart of the war, the council struggled. Some leaders still feared humanity. Others wanted to resist them. But the truth grew too loud to deny. The old commander stood before them once more, his voice ringing like thunder. You feared them. You doubted them. But look outside. The galaxy does not fear anymore. The galaxy stands because of them. You can hide in this chamber, or you can rise with the rest of us. The choice is yours. But history will not wait. And for the first time, the council voted not for surrender, not for silence, but for war. The battles that followed burned across the stars. Humanity's war armada became the spear. Alien fleets became the shield. Together, they struck system after system, tearing the enemy apart. On one world where cities lay in ruins, human ground forces fought alongside alien rebels, pushing the invaders into the sea. On another, human carriers unleashed storms of fighters while alien cruisers shielded them with their last defenses. The galaxy learned quickly. Humanity did not lead with words. They led with action. They fought at the front. They bled first. And because of this, every race followed without question. The invaders began to collapse. Their empire of silence crumbled as humanity's storm spread. One by one, their fleets fell. Their commanders screamed of betrayal, of impossible resistance, but nothing saved them, because they had misunderstood the silence. They had thought silence meant death, but silence had only been waiting for the storm. The final blow came at the Battle of the Black Nebula. The invaders gathered their largest fleet, tens of thousands of ships, their last desperate stand. They believed even humanity could not defeat such power. The galaxy watched in fear. Billions prayed. Billions held their breath. And then the Armada arrived. Human dreadnoughts glowed like suns. Alien fleets filled the sky beside them. Together they surged into the nebula with fire and fury. The battle raged for hours, the void torn apart by endless fire. But no matter how many ships the enemy threw forward, humanity and their allies crushed them. Human precision cut through their strongest defenses. Alien courage filled the gaps with unyielding defiance. When the dust cleared, the invader fleet was gone, shattered, broken, silent. The galaxy had won. In the aftermath, stars once silent sang again. Worlds rebuilt. Children who had grown up in fear now grew up with stories of victory. And in every story, one truth was repeated. Humanity had not returned as conquerors. They had returned as protectors, as guardians. As the storm that ended, the silence, the council, once broken and weak, now stood united. And though they ruled many worlds, they all bowed their heads to the fleet that had saved them. The human Armada did not ask for thrones. They did not demand tribute. They asked for only one thing: stand together, never again fall silent. And so the galaxy awakened under humanity's banner, not as slaves, not as subjects, but as allies. The banner of fire, steel, and unyielding will. The stars that once lay silent now burned brighter than ever, and across the galaxy one truth echoed forever: when silence falls, humanity will rise.